going live in 3, 2, 1. We are live. Okay, so sorry guys, I was trying to do a better, cleaner setup, and now looking at what's going on in the background. I have a very small office, and I wanted to move things around a bit to get sort of a nicer presentation. And now I realize that this table is in the frame, so I'm going to move that. I also wanted to check out the sound again and get that hooked up. At the last minute I realized that my mics weren't connected, so I had to redo that. Stop the stream and then restart it. So sorry about that. I got hung up in a little bit of a traffic snafu. Let's see if I can get this out of the way. No, you can still sort of see it. Well, here's what we're going to do. So, welcome to Moon Eagle Tai Chi. I had to wait for a delivery before I came, so I had planned to get here early, do my own little workout prior to the stream. That, of course, did not happen, and that thump was the table falling down. Most of my furniture in here is modular because it's such a small space. Not that you care about that. This is a Tai Chi workout, but I'm just getting situated and settled in. Normally, again, this is the sort of thing I would do prior to the stream. So if you notice, I have some water with me. And if you have not gotten something to drink, I would recommend that you have something close by that you can just grab a hold of and take a sip of. It's really important to hydrate all the time, but particularly when you're doing some workout, even if it's low impact like Tai Chi. So for today's workout, what I had planned was to use the new form Fire Kisses the Lotus, which I've been teaching for my stream classes for the local JCC. I had my first live in-person class this week, so I'm no longer streaming classes via that Facebook group. So our only streaming classes now are on YouTube. So I intend to keep this up first Tuesday of the month. Holidays, we'll do adjusting with that. As we get more patron support, I may increase the number of live stream workouts that I do. So, a couple things to keep in mind, particularly if you have never done this before. Number one, if something hurts, stop doing it, even if I tell you to. You know your body better than I do. So it's very important that you listen to what your body is telling you, and pain is a signal to stop. So that's really important. Number two, if you feel like your balance challenged or you're a little shaky, have maybe a sturdy piece of furniture close by that you can brace yourself on if you start to falter. Just like with pain, stop what you're doing. Regain your footing, Number three, do as much as you can do. But if you don't have the stamina, you're tired for some other reason, you're just not feeling well that day, just do something. It's better to start the class and not finish it than to not start at all. So I think that is it for announcements for today. Let me check to see if we've got anybody on the stream. We do have somebody, yay. So you can say, you can put your name in the comments, or you can ask questions. I will periodically check the comment section as I, take breaks in between sets. All right. I have to switch screens to do that though, because I can't see comments when I'm using my streaming software. And I'm going to have to adjust the screen, I can tell, to make sure that we are completely in frame for this. It's going to be quite a tight, it's always just a tight fit, just to get me all in frame. There we go. It's just barely. I can just barely see all of me. So, we're going to get started. And, you know, our first starting point is the posture that we take, which I call Wu Qi posture, which is feet shoulder width apart, roughly parallel. You might have a slight natural turnout in your legs. If that's the case, do what is the comfortable stance. I'm slightly turned out, and I know I'm more on one side, so I'm trying to even that out. You're going to have a slight bend in the knee. So let me raise this. So my knees are not locked, but they're not sagging out here either. They're not really, it's not a deep bend at all. It's just slightly flexed with the knees. You want to gently align the pelvis, the sternum, and the forehead. All right. And my thing with me is I always have to make sure that forehead doesn't move forward from all my time at the computer and looking at my phone. So now let's tackle the breathing. So as we inhale, we're going to breathe in through the nose, down into the abdomen, and then expand upwards to the chest and finally out through the mouth. Let me get centered. Here we go. Centered in the shot. And it's funny, this is the first time I've used the overhead lights in here, but I think it works. And now let's come into bear embraces the tree. So let's bring our hands up to chest level. Relax the shoulders a bit. Bring them back as well at the same time. And really picture a bear reared up on its hind legs, hugging the bark, hugging the outside trunk of a tree. So bear, if you can really picture that, that is kind of the stance we're going for. And again, make sure that the head doesn't want to, it tends to want to tip forward, so go ahead and bring it back. Again, inhaling through the nose, down into the abdomen. Expanding through the chest and then gently out through the mouth. And this can be a meditative posture as well. We're really teaching our body to use our bone structure and then properly align muscles to hold ourselves up rather than trying to hold ourselves up with strength. And go ahead and relax your hands back down. Now let's take them an inch or two below your navel to Dantian, your center of gravity. And on the exhalation, you're going to roll Dantian over to one side, making a shallow arc with your hips. Inhale, roll it back to the center. So I'm arcing gently forward as I come to the center, and arcing gently back as I come to one side. As you do that, your weight is going to transfer onto that other leg that you just moved Dantian over to. So inhale to the center and exhale. to the side. Inhale to the center and exhale to the side. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And now as you come to one side and shift over, you're then going to turn from the waist, pivot on the heel and turn and look towards the wall. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, shift over, turn from the waist, pivot on the heel, and turn and look towards the other wall. Inhale as you come back to the center. This is the twisted weight shift. So these two weight shifts I practice at the beginning of all my classes, whether they're streaming or live in person. And that is because it's so basic to just about every movement in Tai Chi when we're shifting, how we shift our weight, how we take a step. So it's really important to really get this very solidly in the muscle memory of the body. And go ahead and come back to center. All right, now we're going to bring our hands in front. Curl your fingers over your thumbs, bend forward. And as you inhale, open the chest. Drive the shoulder blades back. And as you exhale, make a hissing sound as you curl back in. Inhale and open. Exhale. Curl back in. Inhale and open. Exhale. Curl back in. Inhale and open. Exhale. Curl back in. Inhale and open. And exhale. Curl back in. All right. Let's take a few deep breaths in and out. And now let's bring our arms out to our sides. Make an O with your fingers and your thumbs. Let your hands drop down. I'm going to have to move forward just slightly for this so I don't hit the wall. And turn from the waist. Letting the arms swing freely. Relax your shoulders. Relax your arms. Let the turning of the waist generate the movement. Now, if you know you have problems in this area, you might just need to let your hands float out to the side rather than, hitting the hips and the tailbone. As I said, you know your own body. And if you're not sure about whether you should be doing this, check with your primary care provider. If for any reason you find there is a move that you just can't do and you want an adaptation for it that I haven't provided, leave a comment. I do read them, and I will do my best to come up with something for you. Now go ahead and come across the rib cage. This is the reason why we make the O with the fingers and thumbs, because we don't want to have a clenched fist as we're going across here, the torso. So we're not really walloping ourselves. There's a bit of give. And again, this is just generated by the turning of the waist. You're not adding any force to it. And now go ahead and come across the chest. And apologize, this is probably going to be noisy because of the proximity to the lapel mic. Here we're hitting some lung points, so you might have some congestion come up. You might have to cough. That is normal. That happens. If you're finding those points are particularly tender, you might want to go back in later and massage them with gentle but firm pressure. Make little circles. And now go ahead and give yourselves a pat on the back. Now, in my classes, I spend a large amount of time on the warm-up like this, and that's because it really does help get things moving, helps get the lymphatic system flowing. We don't have a central pump like we do in the circulatory system for the lymphatic, so it's all based on our movement. And now go back across the chest. And come back across the rib cage. This is really good to do in the morning. Sometimes if you're having a hard time waking up. And now come back down to the hips and the tailbone. And now slowly come to a stop. All right, great. Now we're going to bend. As we do so, we're going to slap the inside of the thighs as we come up, tap the pelvis. Just like we woke up the torso and brought blood flow, we're now doing that for the legs as well. Now, sometimes people get really enthusiastic and they leave a handprint on the inside of their thighs. That's not necessary. So, this is not no pain, no gain. This is the opposite of that. We want to be gentle with ourselves and our bodies. It's a slightly different type of training. We're training for functional strength rather than fitness strength. You can certainly get fit with certain practices, or more fit anyhow. But our first sort of goal is really functional strength, meaning strength to get you through your daily routine and your tasks with as minimal amount of pain as possible. One more time. Once you get going with that, it can be hard to call it, right, and get to stop. So, next thing, lift one arm, take the other hand, gently tap down from the armpit to the waist. If you feel like this is too rough for you, or if you've had lymphedema, you might want to just gently stroke down like this instead. So there are options for that, but if not, you can just go ahead and with the tapping. We're encouraging our lymph to drain from under our armpits where we have a lot of lymph nodes. So that's what that movement is all about. We're almost done with the warm-up. Now we're going to feel for the collarbones, which are very dangerously close to my lapel mic, and come just below and gently tap. A couple finger lengths below. But if you tap with all your fingers, you're going to hit the right point. So you don't have to be super duper precise. This is K27, endpoint for the kidney meridian. I think of this as like the master reset button for the body. You know, sometimes with your computer, when there's something wrong with it, you have to turn it off and then back on again. And that's kind of how I look at this particular tapping exercise right here. It's sort of like resetting the energy system of the body. And now coming to the center of the sternum. This is the thymus thump. Now this thumping that we're doing right now, beneath the collarbone, the thymus, and then the last one's the spleen thump. That's out of Donna Eden's energy medicine book, if you're interested in that, where she does a lot of things working with acupuncture, acupressure, points, meridian systems, chakra systems of the body, weaving all of those together. And now come just below the chest and then out to the side. This particular series of 3 thumps I found works really well as sort of a closing of the warm-up portion of our class. So I've added it in, and I always forget to do it on my own, but let's bring our hands in front. Become aware of the tingling in the hands, up the arms, across the shoulders, down the spine, down through the legs. Bring our hands back to Dantian. Breathe in. So we're sort of banking some of that qi and bringing it back into Dantian. This is lower Dantian down here, the sea of qi. It's where we store a lot of our qi. All right, so now we're going to work with a balance movement. And today we're going to practice the wild horse rears. So we're going to shift our weight over to one side. Inhale, come up, raise the arms, and raise the leg up. Now you don't have to raise it very far up. You can, even if you're having a bad balance day, you can have the tip of your toe on the ground. Just make sure your weight is completely on the other leg. Exhale, step down, shift the weight over, inhale, and come up. And you might find that you're more stable on one side than the other. Step down, shift over, inhale, come up. Notice what your stabilizing muscles are doing. Try to stay upright through the torso. Exhale, step down, shift over, inhale, and come up. When you do that, you might notice that you've been crooked. And that when you stabilize the torso, it requires a lot more muscular control and recruitment from the core and your back. And as also the leg. Or you may not notice that. As we go along in our practice, we become more aware of what the body is doing on deeper and deeper levels. And come back to center. All right, let's take a sip of something, hopefully water, it's the best. And I'm going to check to see if we have any comments or questions before we get started with some other Qigong exercises. So let's check here. That's Marie. Hello, Marie. I'm so glad you could join me today. I figured that you might be able to, just because of the time difference, that you'd probably be off work. So I'm glad you're here live with me. So it's great to have Marie's one of my patrons. She's over in Europe, so 6 hours ahead of me, I believe. So it's the evening. So I'm glad you could make it. It's always good to have, to have a familiar face online with you, particularly when you're streaming. So today, for our Chi Raiser, we're going to do pressing up heaven, pressing down earth. This is a great move for a it creates this diagonal stretch across the back. It's a sort of an adaptation or a simplification of another movement that's called white crane presses up heaven, presses down earth. But this is the simplified version of it. And the reason I do the simplified more often than not on a stream or even in my in-person classes is because it requires a lot of twisting of the legs and the torso, and a lot of people aren't that stable. So this doesn't get as many of the benefits as it does with the full movement, which is really great for the sciatic. I need to move, sort of bring that more into my repertoire or my daily practice because I've sat so much this last year. But anyways, this one is very simple. We're going to have one hand up above. I'll start with my left hand up above and my right hand down below. Now, my left palm is face up towards the ceiling and my right palm is face down at my tailbone down towards the floor. And as I exhale, I'm going to look up as I stretch up and down. Now I want to make sure that I do not, and unfortunately I'm out of frame. Let me see if I can move back just a little bit. I don't want to lock my joints, so I always want to have a slight bend in the elbow with this. So as you exhale, pressing up and down, inhale, circling the arms, and exhaling, pressing up and down. Inhale, circle the arms, and exhale, pressing up and down. Inhale and circle the arms. Exhale, pressing up and down. Inhale and circling the arms. Exhale, pressing up and down. And again, keep the torso, fairly upright. There's a tendency to kind of bob back and forth. Exhale, press up and down. Inhale, circling the arms. Exhale, pressing up and down. Inhale and circle. Exhale, pressing up and down. Inhale and circling. Exhale, pressing up and down. Inhale, and exhale. Inhale, and exhale. Inhale, circling. And exhaling. Pressing up and down. Let's go one more time, but let's go really slow. Inhale. And I mean one more to each side, basically. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. And come back to center. All right. Loosen up in there. You'll notice if you're tight right here in the back, that really presses and pulls. And the reason we don't lock our joints on that one, when we actually get a deeper stretch in our muscles by keeping it slightly bent. It creates more tension as we press up and down, but keep the bend. And so it pulls more deeply on those muscles. And that's what we want for that. Now let's come into ball holding position. That was our chi raiser. Now we're going to do a chi balancer. We're going to move stuff from side to side. I may need to come forward just a little here to have space for this one. Relax your shoulders. And as you exhale, you're going to come to one side and then gently press behind. Inhale, gathering up the ball. As you come back across the center line, and exhale, now we're going to press behind us on the other side. Inhale, gathering the ball. And exhale, pressing behind. Inhale, gathering up the ball. And exhale, pressing behind. Inhale, gathering the ball. And exhale, pressing behind. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Relax the shoulders. And exhale, press behind. Inhale. And exhale. Press behind, gather up the ball, relax those shoulders. And exhale. Press behind and come back to center. Check in with your body, see how you feel now after those two. And grab another sip, another drink. I'm going to check comments really quick before we move on to our form for the day, which is Fire Kisses the Lotus. I'm really good at naming forms. Here, let me get this more neat on the shot. I'm very conscious about what is showing in the shot. Alright, so Fire Kisses the Lotus. And after the video is processed, I will drop a card in right here that links you to the instructional video on that. I will, give instructions while we're practicing, but if you want to just reference that later, or if you're watching this as a recording and you want to stop and watch that first and then follow along, you can do that too. So we begin with our feet shoulder width apart, have a slight bend in the knees, aligning the pelvis, the sternum, and the forehead. And as we inhale, we gather up the center with our palms till we reach about eye level, and then we're going to exhale and press down the center. And then we're going to shift to the left, turn in on the right just slightly, and shift over to the right. As we inhale, we're going to lift our left hand and our left leg up and open out to the side. So we're opening the hip. Step down to the heel. And as we exhale, we're going to roll forward. This is the movement Fire. Now we're going to inhale and we're going to shuffle up with the right, sink back on the right, and as we inhale, gather up the center, raise the left leg, exhale, kick out, and gently come back down. Try to stay upright through here and don't lean back. Now as we inhale, the arms are going to go behind as we gently rock forward. Exhale, sink back on the right. The wrists come together for Tiger Strike. As we inhale, we're going to pull ourselves up. And then we're going, we've got our weight on this left leg. We're going to turn back out with that right. And then exhale. Guide that left leg back in with the left hand. And now inhale, pull up, gather up the center. Exhale. Press down the center line. Shift to the right. Toe in on the left. Shift over to the left. Inhale, lift up the right and open the hip. Step down to the heel and then exhale. Fire. We roll forward, leading with that right hand in the hip. This is all from the hips. Tai Chi, it's like the theme that could play in your head. It's move from the hips. Move from the hips. Inhale, shuffle up with the left. Sink back on the left. As you inhale, gather up the center. This is the lotus blossom. Right leg up and then exhale out for the lotus kick on the right. And then slowly lowering that right leg down. Inhale, the arms go behind as you roll forward. Exhale, sink back on the left. Wrist strike forward for tiger strike. Inhale and pull up. Come back with that left and then shift over to the left. Exhale. Guide that right leg back in so that you're square again in the hips. Inhale, up, gathering up the center. Exhale. Pressing down the center as you get down to Dantian. Shift to the left, toe in on the right. Shift to the right, inhale, lift up and open the left. Exhale. Roll forward, inhale and gather up. Raise the left leg for the lotus kick and exhale. Kick out and slowly lower the left leg down. Inhale, arms go behind as you roll forward. Exhale, sink back on the right. Wrist strike forward for tiger. Inhale and pull up. Turn that right leg out. Shift over and exhale. Guide the left back in. Inhale, come up the center. Exhale. Press down the center. Shift to the right. Toe in on the left. Shift to the left. Inhale and open the hip out to the right. Exhale and roll forward for fire. Inhale, shuffle up with the left. Sink back on the left. Gather up the center line as you inhale with the lotus and exhale. Kick out and come down. Inhale, arms go behind as you roll forward. Exhale, sink back on the left, wrist strike forward for tiger. Inhale and pull up. Shift over, exhale. Guide the right back in. Inhale, gathering up the center. Exhale. Pressing down the center. Shift to the left, turn in on the right, shift to the right. As you inhale, open the hip to the left. And exhale, roll forward for fire. Inhale and shuffle up. Sink back. Gather up. And then exhale. Lower the leg back down. Inhale. Arms go behind as you roll forward. Exhale, sink back on the right. Wrist strike forward for tiger. Inhale and pull up. Just that right. Shift over. Exhale. Guide the left in. Inhale, gathering up the center, and exhale. Pressing down the center. Inhale, shift to the right, toe in, open the hip to the right, and then exhale for fire. Inhale, shuffle up, gather the lotus, and then exhale. Come down. Roll forward. Exhale, sink back, wrist strike for tiger. Inhale, pull back. Exhale, guide in, inhale up. Exhale, down the center. Inhale, open the hip to the left. Exhale, roll forward for fire. Inhale, shuffle up and gather the lotus blossom at the chest. Exhale, kick out and slowly lower down. Inhale, arms go behind as you roll forward. Exhale, sink back on the right. Wrist strike forward for tiger. Inhale as you pull up, turn out. Exhale, guide the hand back and leg back in. Inhale up the center line and exhale down the center line. Inhale, shift to the left. Turn. I forgot to tell you what to do there. Sorry, we're toeing in, then shifting back over, then shifting back. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, roll forward. Inhale, shuffle up and gather up the center line. Exhale, kick out. Slowly lower the leg back down. Inhale, arms go behind as you roll forward. Exhale, sink back on the left. Wrist strike forward for tiger. Inhale, pull up, shift over. Exhale, shift back and guide the right leg back in. Somehow I get scooted over when I do this. Inhale, up. Exhale, pressing down the center, shift to the left, turn in on the right, shift to the right, inhale, open the hip to the left, and exhale, fire. Inhale, gathering the lotus, exhale, the lotus kick. Inhale, arms go behind as you roll forward. Exhale, sink back on the right. Tiger strike. Inhale. Pull up. Exhale. Guide in. Inhale, up the center line. Exhale. Pressing down the center. Shift over, toe in, shift over, inhale, and open the hip. Exhale. Fire. Inhale. The lotus kick. Inhale. Exhale. Tiger strike. Inhale, pull up. Exhale. Guide in. And we'll close by gathering up the center. And exhale. Pressing down the center. All right. Take another sip. I'll look at comments and then we'll start our cool down. How we're doing. Wow. All right, so plenty of water. The reason we need to drink so much water with Tai Chi is because as we do these exhalations through the mouth, we're losing a lot of moisture through our mouth. So we have to replenish that. It makes doubly so for me since I am narrating what we're doing. I'm also losing moisture as I speak. So, let's talk just a moment about Fire Kisses the Lotus. We have this gathering up and pressing down. And then what's happening is we're really working on being loose in the hips. This shifting over, turning in, shifting over, and then this lift up and then opening out to the side. It was really opening up through the hips here. It's one of the main, I actually started to build this form around that. Let's open the hip out, which is actually a movement that I use in my cool down or the tendon strengthening exercises. It's part of the tendon and loosening series to open the hip out. That's one of the moves that we do. And so I wanted to add that into a form because a lot of us tend to get really tight through the hips, myself included. And so, I design forms. I started designing forms once the pandemic hit because I had to have something that would stay in frame for shooting and filming and streaming. So I started to think about, at first it was like, I like this cool move. Let's see what I can do with this. And now I have movements or, forms that are specifically to do certain things. This one is really about opening up through here, but it's also a balance movement because, as we're up and we're up on one leg and we're opening out, that's a lot of balance. But then again, when we come into the lotus, we're up on one leg and we're kicking out. And this becomes a really strengthening and balancing movement as we slowly and with a controlled movement let the leg back down while staying upright instead of rocking back and forth in the torso. That is calling on a lot of core muscles here, recruiting, and also down the leg as well to stabilize ourselves as we do that controlled release down of the kick. So there are two balance movements in here, but also this opening. And then again, we did this opening out to the side, but then we come back and we're this wonderful stretch back with tiger strike. I love that movement because it really is great for the lower back. So that's kind of what some of the nuts and bolts are behind this form. That said, let's go ahead and get set up for our cool down. Let's bring our hands to our lower back and we're going to just circle the hips. And now let's reverse directions, because we can do that. All right, so let's place our feet together. And let's place our hands on our knees. And we're just going to gently bend and come back up. Now we're not trying to get our butt to the floor or anything. We're just gently bending while supporting our knees with our hands and coming up. Again, remember rule 1, if it hurts, stop doing it. And now, when we come back up, we're going to have, again, our hands on our knees supporting, and we're just going to gently circle the knees in one direction. And then we're going to reverse and circle them the other way. And then we're just going to massage around them. First, really getting, the inside here, around the side, around the back, pressing into that knee pit there. Might be interesting to see if you feel that corresponding anywhere else as you do that. I feel a lot in the lower back, which is, there are points, acupressure points, that do rule the lower back on the back of the knee, so that's why we're playing with that. All right. Now let's take the hands and we're going to cross them over and flex the wrists back. Each time changing which arm is on top, and really do flex the wrist back. Oh, okay. Now let's take the chin and draw a circle. And now reverse directions. You'll probably hear some snap, crackles, and pops. And that's perfectly normal. All right, now let's take the shoulders and circle them back. And circle them forwards. Part of me wants to put this in the warm-up, but then the warm-up would be almost half the class. And now let's lift them up and let them drop. Lift them up and let them drop. Lift them up and let them drop. Lift them up, let them drop. Lift them up, let them drop. Up, drop, up, and drop. All right. Now let's take the wrist and shake them forward. Part of the issue I have is that when I was learning from my first teacher, his classes were about 3 hours long. So he could really front load that warm-up much more than I can. And turn the hands over. Come out to the side, bounce up and down. And we're going to finish this standing practice with silk sheets. So as you inhale, let the arms rise in the breath. Exhale. They sink back down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. And exhale. Down. All right. Let's grab a chair and we'll finish up with a seated Qigong exercise. And I have conveniently placed the chairs where it is difficult to get to them, but that's okay. Let me get this set up correctly. I'm going to take a sip. So I like to finish my classes with a seated Qigong. So it's just a very short sort of meditative exercise. And also it helps people to feel how things have sunk into their body and how the practice affects them. So let's begin. So kind of just like in our standing practice, get your feet about shoulder width apart, flat on the floor. Hold, don't slip in the chair. Let's hold ourselves up with our core lightly. We're not being Egyptian statue rigid, but we're also, we're elongating as much as we can through the spine comfortably. Again, whenever I'm looking at a screen, I tend to come forward, so I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to be a good boy and bring my head and shoulders back to align these three centers. So the three Dantian. Today we're just going to practice the microcosmic orbit. So we're going to be circulating chi up the spine and down the front center line of the body, the two big meridians that sort of do the circulating rhythm, which is the central meridian and the governing vessel or conception vessel. I've seen it written two different ways. It depends on which source you're using. I call it the governing vessel and the central meridian. So moving up the ventral and dorsal sides of the body. This is ventral, that's dorsal. So we're going to start at lower dantian. And we're going to start there by picturing a little pearl of light. And that's going to be our focus. As we inhale, that pearl is going to go down, around, and up the spine until it reaches the crown of the head. And then as you exhale, it's going to float down the center line of the body. Now the two meridians almost meet right here, one on the bottom lip, one on the top of the lip, but there's a gap. So to close that gap, we're going to place the tip of our tongue up against the roof of our mouth to close that circuit in the meridians. So go ahead and close your eyes. Place the tip of your tongue up against the roof of your mouth. Picture that little pearl of light at the lower dantian, and as you inhale, allow it to go down and then up the spine to the top of the head. And then exhale. Let it float back down the front center line of the body back to dantian. So inhale that pearl up. Exhale. Let it float back down. Inhaling chi up. Exhaling. Allowing it to float back down. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Slowly allow that image to fade. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Great. Check and see how you feel. Let's check to see if we have any questions. Good so far on that? So, all right, let's bring our left hand palm face up. Inhale, circled in towards the chest. Down and around, exhale. Bring it in towards the heart. Thank you so much for joining me. I believe this is our second Tai Chi Tuesday. So I want to make this a thing. First Tuesday of the month, and then we'll see about expanding it after we get a little bit more interaction and involvement with the community. But thank you so much for joining me for this workout. I hope it has made your day a little bit better. And until next time, peace and blessings.